0054, road widening, Dipolog-Sindangan-Liloy Road, kilometer 1887, but 1,174 to 1887 plus 1,400. The upper button for the contract is 17,654,320 pesos. Before we proceed, please acknowledge as the rule. First, start with our backer person, in terms of duty supervisor, vice backer person, engineer Dipolog. And first, engineer engineer Ivan Topik from the MP. From the technical working group, we have engineer Dennis Louis.
Present.
Steve Tario.
Present.
DPWH Papala. Attorney Taliana.
Present.
Engineer Jessica Villarreal. Present. Baksa Tayo. We have engineer Maria Topik, our head. We have also the engineer Priscilla Milan Daniel, and we have Player Maravilla of the observer, regional pilot, the viewing live and mutually. But proper, really notified as well. Mr. Chairman, since the members present, this criminal proceedings, really the support. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And Bacchus in Column, this will be this called ordinance. I call to our President Pro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. Pleasant morning, everyone. To our back chair, Engineer Uchuterena, members of the back, fellow government employees here, and also to our viewers live on viewing live stream. Now, for today's pre-bid conference, I will be discussing the basic contract data for this activity. For the project contract ID number 25JC0054, this project having a contract name of road widening, Dipolog-Sindangan-Liloy Road, K1887 plus 1174 to 1887 plus 1400. The contract location for this project is Susidalman, Zamboanga del Norte. Scope of work, road widening of 280 mm PCCP, including construction of bike lane, drainage, and extension of RCBC. The approved budget for the contract is 17,624,320. This project is having also a contract duration of 134 calendar days. So for this project, the location is before the Duhinog-Diot Bridge. For the typical details of the road widening, we have the item 311, having thickness of 280 mm and a width of 3.35. It also had a bike lane also 230 mm thick, and a line canal and a box culvert. So for the item 311, for the construction joint and the transverse construction joint, we will be using 36 mm diameter by 600 mm dowel bars. And for the bike lane, having a thickness of 200 mm thick, we will be using 16 mm diameter by 600 mm tie bars.
Sorry. Duhinog-Diot or Duhinog?
Duhinog-Diot, sir. Can you remember? Punot-Diot. Sorry, I stand corrected. Katong of courage, sir. For the line canal of this project, the typical the dimension is 1.5 width. No, we will be using the 10 mm diameter bars. And also, we will be having also an extension of the box culvert for this project. And last but not the least, we have also the traffic management layout shown in the screen. This will be the layout goes when the widening procedure goes through process. I think that would be all for the basic contract data for this project. I will now giving the floor to Engineer Carrion to discuss with the eligibility requirements for today's pre-bid conference. Sorry po.
Good morning to our back chair, Engineer Sichovich Lorena, and the members of the back, and all the listeners online. We'll be discussing to you the eligibility requirements for the project 25 JC 0054. First is the registration in the civil works application. Contractors who wish to participate in this bidding are encouraged to enroll in the DPWH Civil Works Applications, or CWA, at the DPWH Procurement Service, 5th floor DPWH Building, Bonifacio Drive, Port Area, Manila, while those already enrolled shall keep their record current and updated. The contractor's eligibility to bid on the project will be determined using the DPWH Contractor Profile Eligibility Process, or CPEP, and subject for further post-qualification. All contractors wanting to enroll in the CWA shall submit not later than the deadline for the submission of bids, or simultaneously with the submission of its bids for the contract, the duly accomplished contractor's confidential application statement for inclusion, or the CCASI, together with all the required documents enumerated in the list of annexes of CCASI. The form for the CCASI can be downloaded from the DPWH official website. Shown on the table is on the screen is the PCAB license requirement for contract ID 25JC0054 and its classification requirements, which is the General Engineering GE1 road. Range size is small b. Now, let me discuss to you the technical component envelope. The first Class A legal document inside the technical component envelope is the valid and updated field jobs registration certificate in accordance with section 8.5.2 of the revised IRR of RA 9184. By submitting a valid and updated field job certificate of registration membership, the Class A documents mentioned under 8.5.2 of the revised IRR shall not be submitted. These documents are the following: registration certificate, mayor's or business permit of its equivalent document, tax clearance, PCAB license and registration, and audited financial statements. In case of joint ventures, each partner of the joint venture shall submit their respective field job certificate of registration. The second document is the statement of the prospective bidder of all its ongoing government and private contracts, including contracts awarded but not yet started, if any, whether similar or not similar in nature and complexity of the contract to be bid, using Annex O of CCASI. The third document is a statement of bidder's single largest completed contract similar to the contract to be bid, using Annex N of CCASI. The bidder will be eligible if it had done a single largest completed contract containing a category or categories of works which is the same as or similar to the major category of works, and whose value adjusted to current prices using the PSA consumer price indices must be at least 50% of the ABC to be bid. The following is the it is the Class A technical documents for contract ID 25JC0054. The category of work code is RCP. Its work description is roads construction PCCP. Similar category of work code is RRP, or the roads rehabilitation RCCP, and RCTP, or the roads construction tunnel PCCP. Special pickup license in case of joint ventures and registration for type of cost of the contract to be bid. That's another document to be included in the Class A technical documents. And the original copy of bid security. Shown on the screen is the form of bid security and its prescribed form and validity amount of the bid security. Next technical document is the organizational chart for the contract to be bid. Organizational chart is intended to be used by the bidder to execute the contract if awarded to it. It shall use the prescribed form, the DPWH Infra 13. Next is the list of contractors' key personnel to be assigned to the contract to be bid with their complete qualification and experience data. The prescribed form for this document is the DPWH Infra 14 and shall be addressed to the head of the procurement entity. The following shows the requirements of the experience for project manager, project engineer, materials engineer, and geometric control for 25JC0054. Limits of assignment of accredited contractors or consultants materials engineer per DO 98 series of 2016 is shown on the screen. Geometric control shall be a graduate of either Bachelor of Science in Geodetic Engineering or Bachelor of Science in BS Civil Engineering, or Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering, or a licensed geodetic or civil engineer, attaining the required minimum years of experience in engineering survey as indicated above. A copy of transcript of record, diploma, and/or valid PRC ID shall be attached in the bidding documents. Safety officer must have undergone mandatory 4-hour basic construction occupational safety and health training, and additional 48 hours of advanced or specialized construction occupational safety training from DOLE or any DOLE accredited training organizations as required by DOLE Department Order Number 198 series of 2018. First aider must have undergone certification training course from accredited organizations as required by DOLE Department Order Number 235 series of 2022 rather. Another document to be included is the list of contractors' major construction and materials testing equipment units, which are owned, leased, or under purchase agreements. Um, the prescribed form to be used is the DPWH Infra 15. For owned equipment, copies of sales invoices, deed of sale, certificate of ownership, and or registration certificates from LTO must be attached. For leased equipment, certifications from the lessor that the equipment units shall be available for the contract once awarded. And for under purchase agreement, certifications from the vendors that the equipment units shall be available for the contract once awarded, which will also be attached. Shown on the screen are the minimum major construction equipment required for 25 JC 0054. In compliance with DO number 253 series of 2023, only concrete and asphalt mixes produced by duly accredited plants shall be used in the DPWH projects. Thus, the bidder must attach the certificate of accreditation for contracts requiring matching plants. Minimum materials testing equipment. For minimum materials testing equipment, please refer to DO number 11, series of 2017, for the inclusion of the minimum materials testing equipment in the technical component of the bid. Another document to be attached is the omnibus sworn statement using the prescribed form DPWH Infra 16. The latest OSS is composed of 10 statements. Next is the prospective bidder's computation of net financial contracting capacity. The computation of a bidder's NFCC must be at least equal to the ABC to be bid. NFCC is calculated as follows. NFCC is equal to the current assets minus current liabilities multiplied by 15 minus the value of all outstanding or uncompleted portions of the projects under ongoing contracts, including awarded contracts to be yet to be started, coinciding with the contract to be bid. During bid opening, the contractor's NFCC will be determined using the DPWH contractor profile eligibility process and subject to further post-qualification. Number 9, if applicable, duly signed joint venture agreement in accordance with RA number 4566 and its IRR in case the joint venture is already in existence, or duly notarized statements from all the potential joint venture partners stating that they will enter into and abide by the provisions of the GVA in the instance that the bid is successful. Each partner of the joint venture shall submit their respective field job certificates of registration. Next folder to be submitted by the prospective bidder is the financial component envelope. Original, duly signed, and accomplished financial bid form will be included in this envelope, which shall use the prescribed form, the DPWH Infra 9. Remember that failure to sign each and every page of the bid form, including the bill of quantities, shall be a ground for rejection of the bid. The discount offered shall be signed by the person signing the bid if it is handwritten. Specify all taxes reflected in the detailed estimates in item E of bid form. The following shown on the screen is the example of form of bid security and its corresponding amount. Next is the original or of duly signed bid prices in the bill of quantities. Bill of quantities has two portions. The BOQ of each part of the contract shall use the prescribed form, the DPWH Infra 17, and the bid price summary for all parts of the contract using the prescribed form DPWH Infra 19. The informed DPWH Infra 17, the bidder shall not change the entries under pay item number, pay item description, unit, and quantity, which are set by the procuring entity. It indicates a total for each page in the bill of quantities. And remember, the failure to sign each and every page of the BOQ and the bid price summary shall be a ground for a rejection of bid. Next is the detailed estimates, which shall include a summary sheet including the unit prices of construction materials, labor rates, and equipment rentals used in coming up with the bid. Another document to be included in the financial component envelope is the cash flow by quarter, which shall use the prescribed form, the DPWH Infra 19. Next topic is the format, sealing, and marking of bids. The original copy of bid, as indicated in the BDS, shall be typed or written in indelible ink and shall be signed by the bidder or a person or persons duly authorized to bind the bidder to the contract. Bids shall be printed in A4 size paper and binded. Each type of document shall have a tab number. Prescribed forms shall be completed without any alterations to their format, and no substitute form shall be accepted. Any interlineations, erasures, alterations, and overwriting shall be valid only if they are signed or initialed by the person signing the bid. Bidders shall submit their bids through their duly authorized representative using the forms specified in the bidding documents in two separate sealed bid envelopes or two password-protected bidding documents in comprised archive folders in case of electronic bid submission, and which shall be submitted simultaneously. The first shall contain the technical component of the bid, including the eligibility requirements, and the second shall contain the financial component of the bid, which shall be received by the BAC on the date, time, and place specified in the invitation to bid paragraph. Bids submitted after the deadline shall not be accepted by the BAC. Unsealed or unmarked bid envelopes, or in case electronic bid submission, bidding documents not in comprised archive folders and are not password protected shall be rejected. However, bid envelopes that are not properly sealed and marked or not properly compressed and password protected as required in the bidding documents shall be accepted, provided that the bidder or its duly representative shall acknowledge such condition of the bid as submitted. The BAC shall assume no responsibility for the misplacement of the contents of the improperly sealed or marked bid or improperly compressed or password protected folder or for its premature opening. The bidder shall submit one original technical component and one original of the financial component as prescribed in the ITB Clause 16. Enclose the original eligibility and technical documents in one sealed envelope marked original technical component and the original financial component in another sealed envelope marked original financial component. Both envelopes shall then be sealed in an outer envelope marked original bid, which will indicate the following data: the contract ID and the name of contract to be bid, name and address of the bidder, name and address of the procuring entity, and a warning: do not open before the date of opening, bid opening. Aside from the original copy, the bidder shall submit additional 4 copies of the technical and financial components of its bid. Enclose each copy of the eligibility and technical documents in one sealed envelope marked copy number, technical component, and the original financial component in another sealed envelope marked copy number. financial component, which both envelopes shall then be sealed in one outer envelope marked copy number of original bid and shall indicate the following data: contract ID and name of contract to be bid, name and address of the bidder, name and address of the procuring entity, and a warning: do not open before the specified bid opening date. Mr. Chair, I'm done with the topics assigned to me, and next one.
About assessing the standard bidding procedures for procurement of infrastructure projects. So we will start with the preliminary examination of bids on the date and time assigned in the ITB. So first, we will open the first bid document. So the BAC shall check the presence or absence of the submitted documents against each bidder on the checklist required using a non-discretionary pass or fail criterion. Only second envelope of bidders whose first envelope was rated pass shall be opened. Bids with missing, incomplete, or patently insufficient or total bid price exceeding the ABC shall be rated as failed. Only bids whose both envelopes were rated pass shall be considered for evaluation and comparison. So after the preliminary opening of bids, we will then go to the detailed evaluation of bids. In the detailed evaluation of bids, the BAC, with the assistance of DWG, shall check the two aspects, which are the completeness of bids and the arithmetical computation. So in the completeness of bids, partial bid is not allowed. Thus, bids not providing all the required items in the bill of quantity shall be considered non-responsive and thus automatically be disqualified. For the arithmetical computation, we shall check for computational errors to enable proper comparison of all eligible bids. The ABC shall be the upper limit or ceiling of for acceptable bid prices. If a bid price as evaluated and calculated is higher than the ABC, the bidder submitting the same shall be automatically disqualified. There shall be no lower limit or floor in the amount of the award. So in case of discrepancies, this rule shall apply as shown in the screen. After the detailed evaluation, bids shall then be ranked in the ascending order of their total calculated bid prices to identify the lowest calculated bid. The bidder with the lowest calculated bid shall then undergo post-qualification. So during the post-qualification, we shall verify, validate, and ascertain the documents submitted to us by the bidder with the lowest calculated bid using the non-discretionary criteria. Within 5 calendar days from the receipt of the notice of the BAC, the following must be submitted by the bidder undergoing post-qualification. These documents are shown in the screen. So with these documents, we shall check for the legal requirements, its validity, verify and ascertain the licenses, certificates, permits, and agreements submitted by the bidder, and also if that bidder is not included in any blacklist. For its technical requirement, we shall verify and validate the bidder's stated competence and experience, the experience of the bidder's key personnel to be assigned to the project, the availability and commitment or inspection and testing of the required capacities and operating conditions of the major construction equipment, and material testing of the equipment. We shall also check its ongoing government and private contracts if any of these ongoing contracts shows the following deficiencies due to the contractor's fault or negligence. The BAC shall qualify that during the post-qualification. These instances are shown in the screen, so such as negative slippage, failure of the contractor to commence work, failure of the contractor to commence work of contracts with printing certificates, and substandard quality of work. Then after that, we shall ascertain the authenticity of the bid security and its correctness as to type, amount, form, and wording, and validity period as required in the bidding documents. For the financial requirements during post-qualification, we shall verify, validate, and ascertain the bid price proposal of the bidder, and whenever applicable, the required commitment line of credit in the amount specified and over the period stipulated in the bidding documents of the bidder's NFCC to ensure that the bidder can sustain the operating cash flow of the transactions. So if the BAC determines that the bidder with the lowest calculated bid passes all the criteria for post-qualification, it shall declare the bid as the lowest calculated responsive bid and recommend to the hope the award of the contract. If, however, the BAC determines that the bidder with the lowest calculated bid fails the criteria for post-qualification, it shall immediately notify the said bidder in writing of its post-qualification and the grounds for it. So if in the case nga ma-disqualify siya, the next lowest calculated bid shall then undergo the post-qualification procedures if it can be determined as awarded. So after the BAC determines the bidder with the lowest calculated responsive bid or single calculated responsive bid, they shall recommend to the hope the award of contract to the bidder with the LCRB or SCRB. In case of approval, the hope shall immediately issue the notice of award to the bidder. So within 10 calendar days from the receipt of the winning bidder of the notice of award, the following conditions shall be complied before the contract may be awarded. So after that, this item as shown in the screen will be submitted by the bidder for it the contract to be awarded. So if the bidder fails to meet this condition, they shall be subject for disqualification and their bid security will be forfeited. Within 7 days from the day of the approval of the contract, the procuring entity shall issue the NTP together with a copy of the approved contract to the successful bid bidder, and the date of the receipt of the successful bidder of the NTP shall be the date of effectivity of the contract and the start of the project. So that would be all for the procedures of standard bidding. So next, the procedures and online submission and receipt of bids will be discussed by Engineer Rolly J.B. Tara.
Submission date. For the online submission of bids, the bidder shall send a copy of official receipt to the email address specified in the invitation to bid prior to the deadline of submission of bids, and it should be in PDF format. The file name should be in this kind of format: the pickup ID, the underscore contact ID, and official receipt. Well, the email subject format will be the official receipt then we'll write the contract ID. Only bidders with system accepted proof of payment shall be allowed to submit their electronic bids. After that, an auto reply email will be sent to the bidder after successfully sending the official receipt. And also, auto reply email will also be sent to acknowledge receipt of the official receipt in case if instances where an email is sent, for example, with incorrect subject, without any attachment, with attachment that is not prescribed format, with more than one attachment, or the bids was submitted after the deadline. Bidders must prepare the electronic bid in a password protective archive. The electronic bid shall contain 2 files, which is the technical proposal and the financial proposal, both in password protective archive format. Similar to the manual submission of bids, individual files must be organized in 2 folders, the technical and the format of financial. All files in the technical and financial proposal must be in PDF form, regardless if scanned or exported. If the total size is greater than the email service provider, the archive must be split separately using the same format provided. If the archive is split into 2 or more, and the email subject should be email subject format, bid submission, A represents to the main archive folder and B represents to the total number of archive folder. For example, bid submission 1/2 for 25JC033, and the second email is bid submission 2/2 for 25JC023. Bid modification is allowed only before the deadline of submission and receipt of bids, in which case the bidder shall send through email the revised bid in a password protected archive format. The revised electronic bid main archive files shall contain two files, the revised technical and the revised financial proposal. And the file name will be in this kind of format, where X represents the number of bid modifications submitted. For example, the contract ID underscore technical underscore modification underscore 1. Similar to the manual submission of revised bids, individual files must be organized in two folders, the folder for technical and the folder for financial. All files in the modified technical and modified financial proposal must be in a portable document format, regardless if scanned or exported. And there is no space in the file name format. Bidders must submit the electronic bid to the email address identified in the invitation bid and bid data sheet, which is the official email address of the district. Electronic bids underscore Zamboanga del Norte 2nd at dpwh.gov.ph. Bidders must use the registered email address in the CWA. For bidders not enrolled in CWA, any email can be used, provided that the box shall verify the legitimacy of the email and immediately after the opening of bids, submit all its Class A and Class B documents to the procurement service for CWA enrollment and processing of electronic eligibility check pursuant to item D.3 and D.4 of DEO 117 series of 2017. Prospective bidders who submit their bids electronically shall not be allowed to submit bids manually. Bid modification can be submitted electronically or manually regardless of the manner by which the original bid was submitted. If a bidder submitted modifications both electronically and manually, the submission with the latest official date and time of receipt shall prevail. For joint venture, the format of PCAB ID to be used by the bidder in naming their files should be JV dash then the PCAB ID of the lead member should be used. In case of non-participation, the bidder shall send a letter of non-participation before the deadline of submission and receipt of bids to the email address provided. The file format should be PCAB ID underscore contact ID underscore non-participation and should be in PDF format. In case of withdrawal of bid, the bidder shall send a letter of withdrawal before the deadline of submission and receipt of bids to the email address provided. A bidder that withdraws its bid shall not be permitted to submit another bid directly or indirectly for the same contract. An auto-reply email shall be sent to the bidder after successfully sending the electronic bid to the proper email address of the procuring entity concerned. An auto-reply email also shall serve as the bid receipt, which can be saved and or printed by the bidder. The time indicated in the latest auto-reply email shall be the official time of submission. Bid submitted after the deadline shall not be accepted. An auto-reply email shall also be sent to acknowledge receipt of electronic bids in which the following cases. For example, after the deadline or withdrawal of bid, non-participation, so on and so forth. The bidders that has yet to submit proof of purchase of bidding documents or official receipt. The following will not be accepted also. The submission of bid without initially submitting the proof of purchase of bidding documents, submission of bid after the deadline, and submission of proof of purchase of bidding documents after the deadline. For opening of bids, before downloading the electronic bid, the BAC Secretariat must check in the e-bid portal if the bidders has submitted a proof of purchase of bidding documents. Bids with no proof of purchase shall not be accepted. The BAC Secretariat must download the electronic bid from the e-bid portal and open it using the password provided by the bidder during the actual bid opening. The password shall only be disclosed by the bidders verbally or in writing during the actual bid opening, which may be done in person or phone call, through a letter, or through video conferencing, webcasting, or other similar technology available. If the bidder chooses to disclose the password through phone call, he should make sure that the contact numbers, as recorded in the CWA, are open when the back calls to ask for the password. The bidder may also choose to call the back number, which shall be announced during the bid opening time, and wait for the opening his bid for him to disclose the password. If the bidder chooses to disclose the password through writing, the letters for password 1, which is should be the main file, and password 2 for the financial component file folder, should be enclosed in separate envelopes with the sender details, signed and sealed with a remarked password. Do not open before the actual bid opening date and time. The password protected archive file submitted shall be opened using the password provided by the bidder in the manner referred above and must be successfully opened or accessed by the BAC. Bidder shall be given a maximum of 3 attempts or a period of 15 minutes, whichever comes first, to provide the correct password, except in unforeseen justifiable circumstances. Otherwise, the bidder shall be disqualified. The bidder may also be subjected to the sanction under DEO 28 series of 2024, the 3-strike policy, as may be warranted under the circumstances. If an electronic bid or file was found to be damaged and could not be extracted or opened, the bid shall be considered failed. If a bidder committed typographical errors in the submission of electronic bid or attached files in the wrong format, the bid shall be accepted, provided that the bidder or its duly authorized representative shall acknowledge such conditions of the bid as submitted. The BAC shall assume no responsibility for the misplacement of the contents of the improperly sealed or marked bid, or improperly compressed or password protected folder, or for its premature opening. In case of non-participation and withdrawal of bids, the BAC Secretariat shall check the letters of non-participation or bid withdrawal received in the dedicated email address and stored in the eBid portal, and shall observe the provisions under Section 26.2 of the revised IIR of RA 9184 and DO 28 series of 2024. That's all for the electronic submission.
Okay, since they have babaos na here, I'd like to remind the reader with the three-strike policy. Okay, what is the three-strike policy? Section 69.1 of the revised IRR of RA 2124. In addition to the revision of Rule 21 and 22 of IRR, the head of procuring entity subject to the authority delegated to the BAC gives aid shall impose on bidders or prospective bidders the administrative penalty of suspension for 1 year for the first offense, and suspension for 2 years for the second offense from participating in the competitive bidding process, as well as disqualification from further participating in the competitive bidding being undertaken by the procuring entity concerned, where applicable, for the following violation. One, all other acts that tend to defeat the purpose of the competitive bidding, such as habitually withdrawing from bidding, submitting late bids, or patently insufficient bid, or at least 3 times within a year, except for valid reason. The three-strike refers to the sanctions imposed on bidders committing 3 strikes or violation, considered as acts that tend to defeat the purpose of public bidding within a year. What are the violations considered acts that tends to defeat the purpose of public bidding? From DO number 28 series of 2024, these offenses, acts are further classified into three major categories, which are item 1, withdrawal from the bidding process, submission of a non-participation letter, or failure to submit a bid after purchasing the bid document without valid reason. Second, submission of late bids without valid reason as determined by the bank. And third, submission of patently insufficient bid. Withdrawal from the bidding process, submission of participation letters, or failure to submit a bid after purchasing the bid documents without a valid reason. What is acceptable reason? If upon computation prior to bid submission, the bidder determined that their proposed bid price will exceed the approved budget for the contract. To substantiate this, the bidder must provide the following evidence, which includes but not limited to item 1, detailed budget estimation, 2, market price report. Second, submission of late bids without valid reason as determined by the bank. Acceptable reason due to extraordinary circumstances such as procedure and due to unexpected and avoidable external events that impede or prevent a bidder from timely bid submission as determined in Article 1174 of the Philippine Civil Code. And third one, submission of patently insufficient bid. What is patently insufficient bid? A patently insufficient bid refers to a bid that fails to include or comply with certain mandatory requirements. Three stages where the bank determines whether the bidder have submitted a patently insufficient bid: during eligibility screening, during bid evaluation, during post-qualification. During eligibility screening, submission of an expired certificate of Philippine Government Electronic Procurement System or PhilGEPS registration, platinum membership, or a certificate of PhilGEPS certification containing expired Class A legal and financial documents as determined during the eligibility screening. During bid evaluation, failure to submit required bidding form, submission of incomplete, insufficient, or defective documents due to the non-inclusion and or omission of mandatory provision and statements for the required bid form. Annex C of the DPWH 2024 reference. So another one, the submission of an unauthorized bid securing declaration, an omnibus sworn statement, and joint venture agreement or statements from all the potential joint venture partners. Submission of the bid form, bid securing declaration, omnibus sworn statement, and joint venture agreement without the name, legal capacity, and the signature of the bidder or its authorized representative. During bid evaluation, nomination of key personnel of a profession different from what is required by the bidding documents. Failure to submit proof of ownership, lease, or purchase agreement of pledged equipment. Failure to submit the required certification of key personnel as per Department Order Number 9, Series of 2012. And failure to comply with the required minimum number of key personnel and equipment as stated in the bidding document. During post-qualification, participation in bidding for infrastructure project by the bidders whose allowable range of contract costs as indicated on the pickup license does not match with the specific requirements of the infrastructure project being bid for in terms of category, classification, and size ranges. Enforcement and penalties. What are the penalties? If a bidder commits any of the three major offenses, acts listed above 3 times within a year, and if these three offenses are of similar or identical nature, It will trigger the enforcement of the stipulated administrative penalty, suspension from participating in all DPWH procurement activities, and entering into contract with any DPWH procuring entity. This may result in blacklisting of the suspended bidder, thereby disqualifying the bidder from participating in any government procurement activities for a period of 1 year. The bidder also may face bid security forfeiture and must comply with enforcement of the bid security declarations conditions. When a bidder commits another set of 3 similar offenses or more than 2 sets of 3 similar offenses, the bidder may be subjected to an increased penalty resulting in blacklisting for a period of 2 years. When an offense leading to a strike is identified, the erring bidder will be promptly notified by the Bids and Awards Committee and given a chance to explain their actions before any final decision is made. If a bidder is suspended due to these strikes, they have the right to file a request for reconsideration, RR. If the suspended bidder has filed a request for reconsideration, the awarding of the contract may be deferred until such request is resolved. It is important to highlight that a bidder can accumulate these 3 strikes across different projects. For instance, if a bidder is involved in 3 strikes separate projects with a given procuring entity and submits an expired certificate of field registrations, platinum membership, for each project, this would lead to the immediate accumulation of 3 strikes. Even if a bidder has accumulated 3 strikes, this alone shall not be ground for ineligibility, disqualification, or post-qualification until the suspension order is approved by the Secretary and officially posted in the DPWH website. For a more detailed procedure regarding the three-strike policy, kindly refer to Annex A of DEO 28 series of 2024. That's all, sir.
Okay, thank you to all the resource person for the detailed presentations and information. And now we will now proceed with item 2 of this private conference. The floor is now open for questions and comments from leaders, and of course the replies at the back and other representatives of this procurement. May there be none, we request the back secretariat to read the date, time, and place of the deadline for the submission and receipt of these and opinion sheets.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you for the information to all interested bidders, the deadline of submission and receipt of bids, and the bid opening as well as the preliminary examination of bid shall be on March 11 at exactly 10 a.m. here in Procurement Unit, DPWH, Zamboanga del Norte, 2nd District Engineering Office, Santa Isabel, Walang City. That's all, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Back Secretariat. There being no other remaining subject for this matter, this is all the agenda at hand are already discussed and presented. Any motion for adjournment?
Madam Chair,
It has been moved and seconded. Today's private conference is hereby adjourned. Everyone, thank you for joining.